Tombstone, 1993, once celebrated the legendary, indomitable gunslingers. Yet more than 30 years later, time and tragedy have weighed them down with illness, age, and even death. Who has fallen? Who still exists in the fading glory? Let's explore the heartbreaking truths behind each name. Charlton Heston as Henry Hooker. When Charlton Heston was 70 years old, he played Henry Hooker in Tombstone, 1993. A wealthy, upright, and generous rancher. Although it was only a small role, he left a deep impression on the audience with the dignity and demeanor of a true legend. His appearance was an exclamation point, summarizing the long journey he had taken. Born John Charles Carter on October 4, 1923, in Wilmette, Illinois, Heston was married for more than 6 decades to Lydia Clark, a place that seemed like a safe haven amid the storms of life. Yet in 2002, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, a deadly disease that gradually stripped the memory, intellect, and strength of a man who had conquered the world with his heroic roles. It was a heartbreaking turning an indomitable legend into a weak and helpless man. In the final years of his life, Heston lived in a state of gradual decline. Once a symbol of strength, illness has cast him into the shadows of his past. Furthermore, he has been embroiled in controversy as president of the National Rifle Association, where his hardline stance has turned away many of his colleagues. A once bright star of Hollywood, now faced with both the ravages of illness and harsh public judgment, leaving behind an image both pitiful and tragic. On April 5, 2008, Charlton Heston passed away in Beverly Hills, ending a tumultuous 84 years. He left behind an estimated $40 million legacy, but that figure is only the tip of the iceberg. The image of him standing proudly in his chariot in Ben-Hur remains an enduring symbol, a reminder that even though his body has left him, Charlton Heston lives on in the hearts of audiences. Kurt Russell as Wyatt Earp. When Kurt Russell was 42, he played the lead role of Wyatt Earp in Tombstone, 1993. A quiet but tenacious cop, he walks the thin line between justice and vengeance. The role not only made him the soul of the film, but also cemented his iconic status in the Western genre, where every look and every action is filled with determination and inner turmoil. Born on March 17, 1951, in Springfield, Massachusetts, Kurt Vogel Russell dreamed of a life away from the glittering glare of Hollywood. Gifted with natural athletic talent, he became a promising baseball player, hoping to follow in his father's footsteps. But tragedy struck when Russell suffered severe shoulder and elbow injuries, forcing him to give up his baseball career just as it was beginning. The devastating fall forever buried his youthful dreams, leaving a void he could never fill. After the devastating shock, Russell was forced to return to acting, a path that had always been his backup plan. Despite his rise to the top of Hollywood with a string of iconic roles, he still carries the pain of his stolen dream deep inside him. He once admitted that he still thought about baseball well into his 30s, as if it were a mental scar that would never fade. Even when he plays invincible heroes on screen, Russell is still a fallen man, forced to be reborn in a world he never truly chose. In 2025, Kurt Russell will be 74 years old. He continues to work hard on the big screen, from Marvel blockbusters to independent projects, proving the rare resilience of a star who has endured great loss. His net worth is estimated at $110 million, from film, real estate, and his passion for winemaking. Carey Jr. as Marshall Fred White. Carey Jr. was 72 when he played Marshall Fred White in Tombstone, 1993. A man of integrity who is quickly brought down by the violent storm of the Western. Although his scenes were brief, Carey Jr., with his seasoned presence and sad eyes, made the role a farewell to a lifetime devoted to the Western genre. He was born on May 16, 1921, in Saugus, California, on the sprawling ranch of his parents, veteran actors Carey Sr. and Olive Carey. In 1944, in the midst of World War II, Carey Jr. married Marilyn Fix, daughter of actor Paul Fix. Their marriage lasted more than 6 decades, but it was deeply scarred. Carey Jr. often watched his wife struggle with illness until she passed away before him, leaving an unfillable void in the elderly man's heart. After leaving the battlefield and returning to acting, Carey Jr. believed that love and family would be his strong support. However, the shadow of his legendary father was so great that he felt his life was overshadowed. His long marriage to Marilyn was the brightest light in his journey. But the deeper the love, the more painful the final loss. In his final years, he lived in memories both sweet and bitter, like an old movie that kept replaying over and over again. On December 27, 2012, Carey Jr. breathed his last in Santa Barbara, ending his 91-year life. His net worth was estimated at $5 million, a paltry sum compared to some of his contemporaries. But his greatest legacy was his image as a red-haired, sad-eyed cowboy, an image that has been beloved by audiences for more than half a century. With his passing, Hollywood not only lost one of the last witnesses of the John Ford and John Wayne era, but also lost a heart that had silently endured throughout his life. Sam Elliott as Virgil Earp. When Sam Elliott was 49, he played Virgil Earp in Tombstone, 1993, Wyatt's older brother. With his angular face, signature mustache, and deep voice, Elliott brought both dignity and melancholy to the character, as if he were a spirit of the West from memory. The role not only solidified his cowboy image, but also allowed the audience to feel the weight of a life lived through storms. Samuel Pack Elliott was born on August 9, 1944, in Sacramento, California. In 1984, he married actress Catherine Ross, a relationship that lasted 4 decades. But their long-term happiness was not without its ups and downs. Ross suffered professional setbacks, while their daughter Cleo faced personal crises that rocked the family. Marriage was both a refuge and a test, leaving cracks that were difficult to heal. From those cracks, Elliott was forced to live in inner torment. He tried to maintain the image of a resilient cowboy, but the turmoil in his personal life left many wounds in his heart. As he aged, he faced a wave of public criticism for his rash statements, which undermined the tough image he had built over decades. Behind the Hollywood glamour, Sam Elliott remained a lonely man, battling pain that others could not see. By 2025, Sam Elliott would be 81 years old. He continued to act, especially in westerns like 1883, despite his failing health. His net worth is estimated at $20 million. Today, Sam Elliott inspires both admiration and regret, for behind the aura of a legend lies a scarred heart. Bill Paxton as Morgan Earp. Bill Paxton was 38 when he played Morgan Earp in Tombstone, 1993, the youngest and most loyal of the Earp brothers. With his bright eyes and innocent, kind demeanor, he brought warmth to the film, making his character's tragic death all the more haunting. The role not only evoked compassion for Morgan, but also served as a dark foreshadowing of Paxton's own short life in real life. Born on May 17, 1955 in Fort Worth, Texas, Paxton suffered a devastating blow in his personal life. His first marriage to Kelly Rowan ended after just a year, leaving him deeply insecure about love and stability. He later remarried to Louise Newberry, with whom he has been married for more than 3 decades and has 2 children. But the memory of that initial failure never faded. It became a shadow he could never truly escape. The fragility of his marriage shaped the depth of his acting, but also left Paxton emotionally drained. He was often consumed with anxiety, driven by perfectionism that made him tense on set. His personal insecurities fueled his determination to prove himself in his career, but the price he paid was a broken heart. Behind the smile and humor of Wild Bill, as his friends knew, was a sensitive man who lived in constant fear of losing the fragile happiness he had worked so hard to maintain. On February 25, 2017, Bill Paxton died in Los Angeles from complications following heart surgery at the age of 61. His family later sued the hospital for suspected medical malpractice, turning a private tragedy into a protracted legal battle. Paxton left behind an estimated net worth of $25 million, along with the unforgettable image of Morgan Earp, the gentle, loyal, and buried in the Tombstone accident. Billy Bob Thornton as Johnny Tyler. When Billy Bob Thornton was 38, he appeared in Tombstone, 1993, as Johnny Tyler, a rough and tumble gambler. Although it was only a brief supporting role, Thornton's menacing gaze and reckless demeanor created a character that audiences would never forget. With Tombstone, he proved that even in fleeting moments, he could leave a lasting impression. He was born on August 4th, 1955, in Hot Springs, Arkansas. However, his later life was associated with a bitter subject: marriage. He was married 6 times, divorced 5 times, and suffered his most scandalous heartbreak during his unusual relationship with Angelina Jolie from 2000 to 2003. They wore vials of each other's blood as a symbol of their love, but soon fell into arguments, suspicion, and distance. The marriage fell apart, leaving Thornton with a huge void and pushing him into periods of depression. The pain did not stop there. Thornton suffered the death of his brother Jimmy Don from a heart attack in 1988, a wound that never healed. A car accident in the 1990s left him with a head injury, and a lifelong smoking habit left him irritable and unsociable. These darker aspects often dragged down his career, forcing him to constantly fight to maintain his place in the spotlight. In 2025, at age 70, Billy Bob Thornton continues to write, act, direct, and produce music. His net worth is estimated at $45 million, built from works like Sling Blade, Fargo, and more recent projects like Landman. Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. In 1993, at the age of 34, Val Kilmer transformed into Doc Holliday in Tombstone, a sickly but talented gunman, cold, sharp, and a little crazy. With a mesmerizing performance, he made Doc Holliday the soul of the film, delivering one of the most acclaimed roles in the history of Western cinema. This role became his destiny, mirroring the trajectory of Kilmer's own life. Val Edward Kilmer was born on December 31st, 1959, in Los Angeles, California. In 1988, he entered into what many consider to be one of Hollywood's most beautiful marriages, when he married actress Joanne Whalley. But behind the glamour, the marriage quickly fell apart amid suspicions of alcoholism, a fiery temper, and family feuds. The 1996 divorce not only robbed Kilmer of the woman he had dreamed of meeting, but also left him with a loss that would never be overcome. The fallout from the broken marriage weighed heavily on Kilmer's career. He is known to be a difficult person in Hollywood, often clashing with directors and co-stars. In 2015, he was diagnosed with throat cancer and lost his voice, the most precious thing any actor can have. His failing health and financial difficulties forced him to sell his assets just to pay for medical bills. Once a masked Batman star, Kilmer became lonely, living in memories of a bygone era. On April 1st, 2025, Val Kilmer died in Los Angeles of complications from pneumonia, after a long battle with cancer at the age of 65. His net worth was down to about $10 million, a fraction of what it was at the height of his career. Dana Delaney as Josephine Marcus. When Dana Delaney was 37, she played Josephine Marcus in Tombstone, 1993, a free-spirited, proud woman who became Wyatt Earp's final romantic interest. Amidst the gunpowder, Dana Delaney's seductive eyes and mysterious smile turned Josephine into a gentle highlight, bringing emotional balance to the film. With that performance, Delaney became more than just a supporting character, but became a symbol of independent beauty in the harsh cowboy world. But behind that halo, Dana Delaney's life bore indelible scars. Born March 13, 1956, in New York City, Delaney took on the role of Exit to Eden, 1994, just a year after Tombstone. The sexually explicit role was immediately met with harsh criticism. Audiences called it a disgrace, critics called it a step backward, and her reputation plummeted overnight. For the Emmy-winning actress, the shock was a crushing sentence, leaving a lasting scar on her career. The professional pain wasn't her only setback. In the 1980s, Delaney suffered a serious horseback riding accident that left her with a back injury that would remain chronic for years. In a Hollywood that is cruel to women, where age is constantly scrutinized, she has had to fight against prejudice and public scrutiny. Her perfectionist nature only makes every failure and criticism more painful. In 2025, Dana Delaney is 69 years old. She's remained committed to television, maintaining her status as a testament to the industry's resilience. Her net worth is estimated at $10 million, amassed from hits like China Beach and Desperate Housewives. Stephen Lang as Ike Clanton. Stephen Lang was 41 when he appeared in Tombstone, 1993, as Ike Clanton, the cowardly but dangerous villain who instigates conflict with the Earp family. With his intense and cold performance, Lang transformed what could have been a minor character into one of the film's most haunting and edgy presences, making audiences both hate and remember him. He was born on July 11, 1952, in New York City. Although he grew up in a wealthy family, tragedy struck when his father, businessman Eugene Lang, donated nearly all of his $150 million fortune to charity, leaving nothing for his children. For Stephen, it was a huge shock. Once the youngest son in a well-off family, he suddenly faced a life without material security. From that incident, Lang was forced to devote all his determination to building his own identity. He threw himself into theater and cinema, both because of the need to prove his own worth and because of the pain of being abandoned. That sense of loss and vulnerability permeates his acting, allowing him to portray villains with chilling authenticity, from Ike Clanton in Tombstone to the blind man in Don't Breathe. Each dark role seems to reflect the injustices he endured in his own life, leaving audiences both horrified by his characters and sympathetic to the people behind them. In 2025, Stephen Lang is 73 years old. He continues to appear in major films, including the Avatar series, but his net worth is only about $5 million, a modest figure compared to the fortune his father once held and gave entirely to charity. Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo. When Michael Biehn was 37 years old, he played the gunman Johnny Ringo in the movie Tombstone, 1993. A brilliant, dangerous, and deeply troubled character, Johnny Ringo is not only the perfect adversary for Doc Holliday, but also the shadow that hangs over the entire war in the town of Tombstone. With a fiery gaze and an intensity in every gesture, Biehn gives a performance that is considered one of the best of his career. Born on July 31, 1956, in Anniston, Alabama, Biehn entered Hollywood with great promise, but he soon fell into a darker path: alcoholism at the age of 30. What started out as a way to relieve stress became a career-destroying nightmare, with major opportunities slipping away because he couldn't control himself. The tragedy left deep emotional scars. On set, Biehn was often irritable, and at odds with the director, nearly leaving Tombstone because of disagreements. Years earlier, during the filming of The Abyss in 1989, he had nearly drowned due to faulty scuba gear, an accident that would leave him with a lifelong obsession with water. That injury, combined with alcohol, turned him into a fragile man hiding behind a strong exterior. Only when he was faced with the risk of losing everything did he seek rehabilitation to save his career. In 2025, Michael Biehn is 69 years old. Although he is no longer at the peak of his career, as he was during the Terminator or Aliens era, he continues to work on independent projects and occasionally tries his hand at directing. His net worth is estimated at $4 million, modest compared to his previous heyday, but enough to maintain a peaceful life with his family. Thomas Haden Church as Billy Clanton. When Thomas Haden Church was 33, he appeared in Tombstone, 1993, as Billy Clanton, a hot-headed member of the Cowboys gang, always ready to pull the trigger. Although he was just a cog in the Earp family's resistance group, his fierce eyes and imposing presence left a deep impression on the audience. It was also an important stepping stone for Church to overcome his image as a television actor and enter the harsher world of cinema. He was born on June 17, 1960, in Woodland, California. But after his early success, his personal life became a heartbreak. His decade-long marriage ended in divorce in 2007, leaving behind property disputes and a void in his heart. Having had a family and children, and then having to accept a breakup, it was a pain Church rarely spoke about, but it smoldered in his silence in the years that followed. Personal tragedy was compounded by professional difficulties. In the 1990s, he was involved in a car accident that left him injured and forced him to withdraw from several projects. In the cutthroat world of Hollywood, such hiatus means being pushed out of the spotlight and struggling to find his place again. So he chose to live a reclusive life, avoiding scandal, and only returning when he found a role that truly deserved his presence. In 2025, Thomas Haden Church was 65 years old. He continued his artistic path, becoming famous for Sideways and playing Sandman in Spider-Man. His net worth is estimated at $20 million, largely from his major works and years of hard work. But behind that number is a man who has suffered physically, and ultimately chosen solitude to maintain his own sense of peace. Powers Boothe as Curly Bill Brocious. When Powers Boothe was 45 years old, he transformed into Curly Bill Brocious in Tombstone, 1993. The leader of the Cowboys gang, a villain who is both charismatic and ruthless. With his piercing eyes and distinctive raspy voice, Boothe created a memorable Curly Bill, turning the outlaw character into one of the best performances of his career. He was born on June 1, 1948, in Snyder, Texas, to a poor farming family. In 1969, Boothe married Pamela Cole, his partner of nearly half a century. Their marriage seemed a solid anchor, but when pancreatic cancer struck in his final years, Pamela was forced to watch her husband wither away in pain day after day, a terrible ordeal that plunged them both into despair. The endurance of love could not stop the cruelty of the disease. Boothe was a strong man, having survived a serious car accident and even faced harsh criticism from his co-workers when he crossed a picket line to accept an Emmy in 1980 during a strike. But he was powerless against cancer. In his final days, Boothe endured failed chemotherapy treatments, his body growing weaker, while Pamela held his hand through every painful moment. Their 48-year love affair ended in tears and helplessness. On May 14, 2017, Powers Boothe died in Los Angeles, at the age of 68 from a heart attack related to pancreatic cancer. He left behind an estimated $8 million in assets from his roles in Deadwood, Agents of Shield, and his personal ranch in Texas.